C. Joe says, thank you for $5. C. Joe, you mentioned previously people trading Grateful Dead tapes in college. Were you a Deadhead? I don't know if I would like call myself a Deadhead. I can't remember if I would have called myself a Deadhead. It was before I went to college. It was probably my junior or senior year in high school. So I would have been 17, I guess. Maybe 18. I can't remember the exact timeline. I went to work at this bike shop, a bicycle shop. I was riding mountain bikes. I was riding bikes at the time. That was one of my hobbies, and I would go into the bike shop and just hang out, buy stuff for my bike, get my bike worked on, and meet up there for going out for rides. And they hired me because their inventory was all effed up. And it turns out their inventory was effed up because everyone in the bike shop was stealing all the time. The owner of the bike shop was this rich guy who rode bikes. And he was basically an absentee owner. He wanted to own a bike shop because he was into riding bikes, but he never was in the shop. And the manager of the shop basically ran the whole thing. And the manager of the shop hired all his stoner friends to work in the shop, and they would just steal things. They would just sell things off the shelf and pocket the money, or do it in exchange for put a car stereo in my car, I'll let you take this bike out the door. And as I'm telling the story as a grown adult, it sounds like it's horrifying, but at the time it was just who gives a fuck. And they hired me because the owner was like, hey, we need to get our inventory straightened out. And so they had to do a complete inventory of the store. And they didn't know how to use their computer, their cash register system. They didn't know basically how to do the inventorying. And I was like a computer nerd. Still am, but I was. And so they were like, hey, can you come help us fix the inventory? And I was like, sure. So they hired me. They taught me how to work on bikes. And introduced me to the Grateful Dead and some other things that I won't say on stream because we're trying to keep it family friendly. And so I went to a couple Dead shows when they came through Atlanta, and listened to the Dead for a while, and that was a good time. Eventually, the shop closed down before I went to college, because I stopped working there when I went to college. I moved away from that town and moved to Atlanta, where I went to Georgia Tech. And I remember the shop closed down, so that probably helps narrow down the time frame. And when the word came that the shop was closing, we also learned that we would not be getting our last paychecks, which, to be fair, everyone had been stealing a lot. So, I for the record, I didn't steal. I was a good boy. I wasn't a full-time employee, and I didn't really have any input into sales decisions. I worked on bikes. I was way too young to try to sell. And so I was never given the opportunity to steal. Occasionally the manager would be like, yeah, you can have that. Go ahead, take that. And for me, that was not me stealing so much as it was him stealing. It was his decision to make. But when we learned that the store was closing, it was just one day we all came into work and it was like, hey, the store's going to close. Nobody's going to get paid. So it was basically a free-for-all to try and make up for your missing paycheck. And then I did steal. But only as much as I felt I was owed for the work I had done. Anyway, a little history from me and the Grateful Dead.